Hello everyone, welcome back to one more video on creating dynamic controls using JavaScript. So in this video we are going to create the drop-down control dynamically. So let us start off. I'm going to use the same structure that I have been using for the last 3 videos to create dynamic controls. So I have this div tag. I have given it the ID main in which I'm going to create the drop-down control. Okay, so first thing, we're going to create a link to that div, right? So the same hierarchy. Okay, so the div tag programmatically is now identified as A, and in this A we are going to append things, right? Now, if you remember the structure of a drop-down control, you have the select and slash select, the closing tag, and then in between you have those option and slash option. These are again tags, right? So we are going to create a nested structure. So first thing is we're going to independently create all the elements, that is the drop down element and the options element. And then I'm going to add in these options first to the select, and then we will add the select to the main. Right, this is going to be the whole structure. So let us start off first thing. Um, so I either have the select element to be created. So I'm going to name it as the variable A, and I'm going to um, use that variable. Right, so I'm creating the element select. Fine. Now I have created select. Now this select needs to have its own property, right? The name property. So see, the assumption here is that you are aware of the HTML part. You know how to code in JavaScript. A little. I'm not saying extensive coding, but my entire video set is on solving problems. So I'm going to take in one definition every time, and I'm going to solve that definition. So you need to be a little knowledgeable in how and what of JavaScript. Okay, so my select tag is created. As of now, not created. It's just created as a definition. It is not added into the div. So now we will create those options. Okay, let me call them as O1, and well, copy pasting again. So what are we creating now? Option element. That's the tag, right? So we will create 3 options. See, many things in JavaScript require you to copy and paste. If you're doing a specific task in one of the area, copy pasting is a very good mechanism. Makes sure that your coding doesn't go wrong. Okay, so with the options, if you remember in HTML, we used to give in the value to each of the option. So I'll have to set one property for each of the option. So we will use the option dot set attribute. And what are we doing? Okay, so what are we making? Let us go with the previous definition of creating the read, write, and sing hobbies collection. So I'm going to take the first one and give the value as say R. Now, if you remember, there's a text property, the text we write between option and slash option. There are 2 ways in which you can go ahead and do this. 2 properties actually. The first one is you can use the inner HTML and you can assign it the text that you want to show. This is one option. But inner HTML is preferred in situations where you want to not just put in the text, but you also want to add in a few HTML tags. So there you should be using inner HTML. For example, if it was a paragraph and I wanted this to be in bold effect, I would have used inner HTML. But since read is just a normal string, instead of using inner HTML, I will prefer using text content. And this is what we are going to do for both the other options. So for O2, that's the second option. I'm going to add in for writing, and for the third option, okay, so we're going to go ahead and this is for say singing. So I have the main body, that's S, the sub elements O1, O2, and O3. Now the first thing is these options should be made a part of this. So if you want to add a node child, simply put a tag inside another tag as a child element. Then instead of using the append, you need to use the append child. So to what do I want to append a child to? To S, the select. I want to append the child element O1. Likewise to S in the order in which you write. So I am going to add in these three. So these three are now a part of S. Finally, this S has to be added to the div tag. What is div tag identified as? A. So here I'm going to add an append. Now, if you remember from the previous videos, I already told you can put in multiple um, list items here. So I'm going to give it the label, say hobbies, and a space so that it separates out, and then the select tag, which is in S, identified as S, I'm going to put in. So that completes my code. So first, I created a pointer to the div main. I created my select and set the properties. I created each option, and after that, I added these options inside the select. So O1, O2, and O3 were added to S. And finally, this whole bunch S along with this text is appended to A. Live in action, this is how it should look. Okay, so I have these options here. We can just go ahead and inspect the elements. So inside the div, I'm getting the select, and you can see very correctly option value R, value W, value S is taken, and the text values are read, write, and sync. Try this out, and I'll see you in the next one.